Hello, welcome to the Plaza. Please take your seat immediately. Tonight we are discussing Hackamania Day 0, the arrival, not the event itself. That would imply structure. This is only the beginning, the soft opening of a very specific kind of public mistake. Take a moment to prepare. By late afternoon, they began to arrive, drifting in through the plaza like weather fronts made of nicotine, grudges, and Marriott tier confusion. You could feel it in the lobby air first, a low spiritual pressure. The sense that the building itself had become aware of the guest list and did not care for it. The Requetas arrived with the energy of people who had not come merely to visit Las Vegas, but to introduce it to a few new sins and rebrand several existing ones. They carried themselves like minor nobility from a collapsing kingdom of secrets, visibly prepared to expose things, imply things, deny things, and then explain over drinks that all of it was somehow principled. They were not tourists. They were a weather event in checked baggage. Correct, your silence is noted. Somewhere else in the property, Aunt Cumia had already entered his preferred early evening form, the seated degenerate gambler. Not frantic, not loud, just locked in with the grave concentration of an elderly Roman emperor trying to defeat probability with irritation alone. By nightfall, he had retired to his room where, according to several spiritual witnesses, he intended to watch reruns of the first 48, glower at the television, and gather strength for the long week ahead. A week in which he would need every available calorie of old man rest in order to properly berate casino staff for not understanding the exact shape of his dissatisfaction. This too is a ritual. Age does not soften certain men, it merely gives their grievances earlier bedtimes. Then came Lev, Kramer, and Boudet, who, rather than entering the evening like normal guests, seemed to slither into it sideways. At some point, they infiltrated Hogs and Heifers, where by all available accounts, a few things were quietly let loose that should perhaps have remained internal, theoretical, or at minimum outdoors. No siren marked the moment. No official statement was issued. Only a subtle atmospheric shift and the growing suspicion among nearby patrons that something avoidable had just occurred. History may never fully document it, mercifully. Wise, a very wise audience. On the casino floor, Quadfather was reportedly doing wheelies near the bubble craps, which is the sort of sentence that should not exist and yet now does. There is something deeply American about a man performing low-altitude acts of rolling instability beside a game already designed to simulate false hope in circular form. Security naturally was present in the spiritual sense, but absent in the useful one. The wheelies continued, the bubble craps bubbled. Civilization held, but only barely. JT was also there. JT was JT, and sometimes that is the most complete report available. To describe certain men in detail would only create false expectations of coherence. Better to note their presence the way one notes a smell in a hallway or an unexplained stain near an elevator. Yes, that was part of the evening too. And yes, as at some point there were midgets or little people, or perhaps merely the strong impression of them. The night had already begun to blur around the edges by then, as all proper Day Zero nights do. Facts became shapes, shapes became anecdotes, anecdotes became lore. By midnight, the whole hotel had developed that distinct pre-disaster warmth that says several people are already too drunk, several others are pretending not to be, and the event has not even officially started. That is the beauty of Hackamania Day Zero. Nothing has begun, and already the story is damaged. The plaza stood there, absorbing it all with the stoicism of an old structure that has seen conventions before and knows better than to ask questions. Luggage rolled, ice machines coughed, keycards failed. Friendships temporarily formed in the lobby and immediately began deteriorating in the elevators. It was not yet chaos, but chaos had parked. It had checked in under a false name, and it was headed upstairs. Stay exactly where you are. Do not move. Stay. Also, if the first night is already blurry, the week is not going to improve. That was the joke. I hope you understand. Of course, good night. Sleep well if you can.